Hey, folks, welcome to the show. Today is a slightly evening edition, I would say, because we have someone joining us from overseas.
Yeah.
We have with us Mr. Raj Neervannan, CTO and co founder of AlphaSense. AlphaSense is a leading market intelligence platform. It's used by major companies, including financial institutions. As former investment bankers and equity researchers, we definitely, Sharad, realize the big value add.
We also love the phrase alpha, right? We're always finding alpha.
Absolutely. Raj, it's a pleasure to have you with us. How are you?
Great to be here, and thanks for having me here, Nikhil and Sharad. And it's a wonderful morning here and a wonderful evening there. And it's always good to chat with people who are in the know with the product that we work on, and we're so passionate about. And you must have seen the pain that you go through looking for alpha, and I'm sure your audience knows alpha is the above average return for the same risk between two equity, between two assets, and so and that's the whole Hail Mary, or the thing that everyone looks for. Yeah, we are happy to hear that you're from this industry as well.
No, the pleasure is all ours, Raj. So, I mean, would be good to kind of start from the start in terms of, if you look at the origination of AlphaSense, what sort of pain point pushed you and the team towards it? And secondly, would be also good to understand where does like market research, market intelligence, those are much used and much abused terms, and it's a very large ecosystem, with a fair amount of horizontal as well as vertical coverage. So would love to understand within the overall large scheme of things, where does Alpha Sense sit in? If you look at, we obviously come from financial services backgrounds ourselves, so we have used various platforms throughout our professional trajectory. We keep on hearing of things of like Bloomberg or FactSet or Thomson Reuters or Reed Elsevier, CB Insights, Gartner, and so would love to get your an explainer of sorts from you to understand the industry ecosystem. Where does AlphaSense sit, and how did the entire journey, or what problem statement actually drove it?
Yep, absolutely. So
It's a very big question. I know I think I loaded like 4 different questions in the same question, but yeah, please.
No, I'll start with your own background, right? I mean, you have been an investment banker. You've been in this field. What it is like. You were working under the gun and a limited time. You're trying to look for that information, negative information that will move the market, or you're trying to de-risk something. You're trying to figure out, understand. So the variety of hypotheses you have in your head, and you want to get to it. And your choices are, you go to Google. The typical processes before we came on board is you have your terminals, Bloomberg terminals, or other information sources that has all kinds of structured content. You have the balance sheets, all that stuff, and you also have access to instant news. And there is, of course, a library of content over there. For goodness sake, there's a ton of content out there, tens of thousands of sources. And then you got to Google. Google, a lot of finance.yahoo.com, there are tools like that. And then what the typical search process is. By the way, my co-founder was Jack Coco. He has been an analyst at Morgan Stanley. And we met when we were doing an MBS at Wharton. So that's how we kind of, and I've been a serial entrepreneur, and he has been one, and we have been through this multiple times. And when we met, we were keen on working together. We brought complementary ideas. And so when he mentioned, hey, this is something that I used to open a document, search for Google, then I get something, it'll give me like 10 out of a million. And I'm like, what is 10 out of a million? Then I download one. Then what I'm looking for is inside the document, Control F, then pull that, highlight it, and then go back to next one, do this. You must have done this in your world, universe. And so I thought, this must have been solved before, because Google has been around for 10, 13, 15 years, and search engines certainly have been around for a long time. And so have other large vendors. So when we looked into it, we realized that they have solved it as a keyword search. You look for a keyword, it finds it.
Yeah.
So it's more of a keyword finder, or it's served towards the internet user, like who's looking for shopping for a toothbrush or whatever ticket or whatever it is. It's not meant for a professional like you, like your audience here, or people who even otherwise, even if people are looking for any hypothesis, looking for any information. It's not so easy to get it. It's easy to find documents, not easy to find insights. Those are two different things. And there's a long road from just finding a 10 hits somewhere and going elsewhere. The main difference, I would say, is that and then you have the information sources like you mentioned, CB Insights and many others that you refer to. So what we felt was the pain point was that there is they get you about 30-40% of the way, and then they leave you. That's it. And then you have to kind of go through the remaining 60 or 70% and you give up along the way. And how much can I find? And then you say, well, I'm done. I think I've found enough, and then move on. Well, you end up maybe making another 20-30% progress towards that with a lot of effort, and then you just give up. So there is a big problem with finding enough and finding the right information and find it fast enough.
Right.
And then by the end of it, if you have any energy left, you hopefully got the insight you want, or you're like, all right, I got something. I'm sure the other guy was looking at this thing doesn't have any better tool either, and so I'm good. I'm just going to move on.
Right.
We thought this process was highly friction heavy and needed to be addressed. And some of people had given up and assumed that it's only the big guns of the world can solve this. So that's kind of what the pain point is. So you multi-loaded question, I'll set the context there. And so today, AlphaSense is called market intelligence and search platform. It's a big loaded term because everyone is called market intelligence. Everything is out there. But truly a real intelligent platform is one that would actually help you find insights quicker, help you make decisions faster, smarter decisions, and hopefully won't miss most relevant information for you, and will cover everything that you seek to cover. Right. Real true search information. That's what we strive to address, and it's a long road, and I think we have made a good progress in using that. And this is the context when you go back and we realize that the technology can come into the picture, and that's where my background came in, having done this many times, tech background, and my background is also, I've done a bit of finance and a bit of this, so I understand the pain point when my co-founder mentioned this. So I think we can solve this in a way where we need to provide the context of what they're trying to search. Understand. I go into the bit more into detail about this. Main difference, I would say, the context is that we help you find key ideas, topics inside those documents and spotlight them for you to quickly get to and move on to the next one.
Right.
Instead of getting only like, here are the top 10 documents, bye-bye. Instead of saying that, what we actually do is we help you find the X spotlighted sentence context in 13th page of this document, and then go to the next one, and we give you the summary of all of that. So you're quickly reading like a series of snippets, series of contextual ideas where you should be going through instead of going through all the friction. And then as you read through it, zoom in and out, you can find out exactly what you're looking for and get to that end state that you were trying to decide, which is like, I have enough insights now, I need to figure out which one is relevant for me. So that's what we do. The differentiation is obviously we are heavily technology driven. We use technology, AI driven, so as opposed to a add on for one more keyword. We also have a search type thing when you have a lot of content. That's main difference. In some ways, it's akin to Amazon came on board. They sold you goods, but their presence is not because of selling goods. People had Walmart and a lot of other vendors, retail vendors, that you could get content from them, goods from them. But Amazon used technology to help you deliver quicker, find things that you want, and the online experience was so much better. So in many ways, I think we are like that. But of course, in the business world, it's completely different. So we have a wide appeal. This can scale to a lot of different content sets, and so that's another differentiator. We see these vendors that you mentioned as partners, as someone who provides us content and leave the technology heavy duty of finding search to us.
But when you were mentioning Google, I mean, there's a clear demarcation, right, between publicly available information and private information, right? And from our vantage point, naturally, like AlphaSense looks at doing contextualized, business-centric search, right? So that way, I mean, it's kind of it functions it's a Google-like product, but much more tailored for the enterprise or business user. How do you view or how do you kind of tackle the issue of private information? Or is that something that you also focus on, which is not available, to anyone and everyone for free?
Yeah, 100% right. So I think first Google indexes content for consumers, whereas we index it for business, financial research, for knowledge workers. Could be anyone from a hedge fund to an investment bank to life sciences. We are lovers. Life sciences loves us because they do so much in-depth research. Anyone that wants to do any serious in-depth research, anything at all, they love us. And people, if they seek for in-depth inside information, they come to us, and for that, not only is the search important, content. The search is only as good as the content that you search on. So the information they look for, if you're life sciences, if you're in any specific field, they must have a ton of content that they have, this specific blog or the specific book sources they listen to. They must be getting a lot of that content as well. So absolutely, I think that is one of the main additional differentiators. We collect lots and lots of quality sources everywhere. It's not just the public content sources. Of course, public content sources are overly searched because consumers, internet engines, search and give you if it's popular. Who's going to be a 10K that came out is not very popular.
Right.
So yeah, it's popular among few people, but it's not quite unless you will say find this in 10K, then it doesn't even bring it up.
Right.
But it's not about popularity with us. It's about our customers need insight, and insights can be anywhere, whether it's popular or not. So, but quality sources are quality sources. It's not about popularity, and so private sources are quality content. And so we go and find them. Either clients tell us, and we go and look for all the research content, for example, for all the brokers, all the like you mentioned, Siemens, CB Insights, all those kind of concepts, ton of verticalized industry sources, blogs and news sources, transcripts, of course, all the earnings call transcripts, anything and everything that's spoken that's useful. So we definitely seek those, buy them. One other friction point is not only is the search, finding the content sources also becomes a friction point. People have to, I have to pay for this, but not that. And then if you go to the other source, there's entitlement with paying content.
Yeah.
And so we want to make that problem go away. We buy everything and anything that's useful to you. We pay them, we handle all the payment, we give you a flat fee. So you don't have to worry about entitlements and stuff like this. You just get great content, great search, and you get to it. So our strategy has been to make sure that we enter into multi-year, long-term contracts with our partners, and make sure that the approach is to get them involved in our ecosystem, and make sure that the partners are able to reach their customers through us through this single pay system. We also have our own call it podcast of sorts, but it's not necessarily a podcast. It's more like the GLG model, where you people that are interested in a particular topic used to have the experts. They want to talk to certain experts to understand even more in depth. And in this model, we are democratizing. We acquired a company called Stream. So like last year, what Stream does is it conducts these in-depth expert insight interviews on the topics of interest, and we collect all of that content. That becomes a great source again. And this used to be one-on-one, thousands of dollars. Now we are, once again, that falls into the flat fee model. So that's our model for getting all and any useful content, wherever that might be, whatever format they come in, turn around and give you a flat fee.
And interesting. Couple of questions, right? Obviously, I mean, the secret sauce is sort of your engine here, which contextualizes and picks up the right data and things like that, Raj. But do you think there is still a human element that is required to process that sort of information, and how will that sort of evolve? And the reason I ask is, right, one of the things that professionals often deal with is adjustments. I mean, when we look at 10K, right, a lot of times we won't take the numbers on face value. We'll adjust for, let's say, there's an acquisition or there's a non-recurring item. I mean, we're getting into levels of layered technicalities, but those are things which are you seeing those things to be something that can be tackled? Is the engine smart enough to understand that level of contextualization? Because they typically don't follow a pattern as such, right? I mean, they're non-recurring by definition. So is there a human element that is in need, or how do you address that through technology?
Well, to put it lightly, as humans, we've been seeking answers for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to stop. Even if there is an expert, like human expert with brilliant, like Warren Buffett, you still seek answers after that.
Yeah.
That's just the way of nature. I don't think we are ever going to be happy with just an answer given by any engine. But I think what we should strive for is, make the process as frictionless as possible and get to wherever we want, good enough or great enough, I should say, to a point where you feel like, well, given the time and energy you have, you've done. That's what we've been doing before. This tool gets you a lot further into the mix. But I think to say we'll be doing 100%, no one is going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
Because we that's just a matter of understanding. So I think to understand why that is the case, and what we try to do is try to make the tool as close as human as possible. That's all been our the utopian goal, right? That's what we're trying to do. And so in order to do that, even as we go back and forth here, what are we trying to do? We're trying to understand the question, right? So that's the same thing we do with search engines. First is to understand. You ask a question. You could say, earnings, and you could say sales. I interpret that as revenues. I could interpret that as a backlog. In our mind, we map that question into a lot of different concepts in our head. That's like the first step. Because right there, if I don't understand and map out to other ways in which the context of words mean, that's like I've gone. So that's what we do first step. Second is there is possible answers I have. In this case, it's an engine. It's not just remembering 2-3 facts. It's remembering it has literally billions of documents at its stake. So it has to have read them already, contextualize them, those documents, so and kind of tag them in very in-depth, enriched ways, so that when a query does come, it is able to match it close enough. It's not just a keyword level. Now it's super enriched, extremely intelligent. Now, if you are a human listening to a question and then asking to read a document, you would read the document and you enrich it in your mind and then answer back the question that you have. That's kind of the process that goes on, except that it's a machine. So we do that beforehand and we store it and we have the enriched information stored.
Yeah.
Third is the matching process between the two. Now this enriched information and enriched query are now trying to be matched very closely. The fourth is not just matching, there may be 1,000 matches, but ranking and sorting and giving the relevant ones that now I'm going to speak back to you, what's useful to you, what you want to hear. And in a format that you want, in words in a way that makes sense. It's interesting, like we are saying here. So the kind of the 4-step process is what pinpointing, you're not interested in like dumping like a spreadsheet of information. If I just tell you 100 things, you'll get bored. You don't have time.
Yeah.
So similarly, the machine has to do these 4 steps, and these 4 steps are we do this magically in our heads, and there's always an element of human after that. There is, no matter how much you try, there's always going to be an element of human thing. So, for example, like sentiment, you take one thing.
Sure.
You can match all them. Of course, we have a sentiment engine. We understand the tonality and all of that, but it's just constantly changing. What's good yesterday, today is bad, and it's constantly adapting. The contextualizing requires an element of that. Proximity searches. If you ask one thing and the answer could be relevant to what you were looking for a few sentences below. So not only should it be enriched, the answer should be closer to it. So when we show you the result, we also show you closer to it. You may want to read this section around it. You're going to do it anyway, but we're going to show you exactly. So I think this kind of a contextualization requires all these variants of thought processes that have to be algorithmically implemented in such a way that AlphaSense gets to understand greater context. Even it could even be trending themes. You could be in your mind. You could be looking at there's a trending theme going on right now, a trending topic going on. Suddenly that thought comes into here. So we understand. We try to get as much as possible into this mix, and then the engine tries to understand the context in which you could be asking, and then turn around and obviously it does what it does. Machine doesn't get tired, and so it does it religiously, just back and forth.
Yeah.
That's where the value comes. So it gives you the actual stuff, or very, very close to it, and then from there on, you may differ from it, and then may do one more search to iterate a little bit further.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
It's interesting, and this is more from a business development side, Raj. Like how do you sort of grow about adding more clients, if you will? Because what we see is like these guys are holding on to legacy systems and the massive switching costs. Like some of them really price those historic data models. the fact that they're decades old, and we've seen that they show a lot of reluctance in embracing newer platforms or the learning curve involved with a newer platform. Is that something of an obstacle, or you think like most banks and or prospective clients see these fact sets and Thomson Reuters and Capital IQ as additive, like you can have one or two and you sort of use multiple platforms like that?
You mean in terms of our users, how they introduce this tool into
Yeah,
the mix?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they see this as a complementary. We don't see we're not trying to displace in that sense of there's a ton of structured information that's available. They've been added for a long time, and we want to add value, but there's so much value to be added in this portion. That's 80% of alpha. Someone told us 80% of alpha is in this 20% of this unstructured information that's not even pulled into.
Right.
And so, and this is the job that we want to go. This is the job that we want the machines to do. So, yeah, I mean, our users are going to develop a certain amount of trust with the other tools, and they're going to use some of those. And obviously, we have similar content here as well, but we use them in a different way in surfacing insights. If we go to a document, we pull the table quickly for you and compare across multiple tables. It does it more sort of in an AI-driven way as opposed to be in a sort of an Excel spreadsheet way. Mm-hmm. So it gives a different angle to it.
Right.
We feel sometimes they feel like, well, their use of their other tool maybe it's what they were trying to do with this tool. In that case, they say, I'm using it in this context. I don't need that. I'm just going to use this. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean to say that that tool could offer a few other benefits, and that they may still not find it here and they may use that one. So that we have seen users do both.
Raj,
is that the question that you get to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You briefly alluded to to how you look at private content, right? I mean, one is that you, when it comes to content which is behind a paywall, you pretty much aggregate it and you give a uniform pricing to your end user, right? And you provide seamless access. But then you also mentioned that there are also like expert interviews, expert insights, which kind of, with that, we are kind of falling into the territory of, user generated content, which is editorialized to a certain extent. How does and that requires, hours and bandwidth from humans to kind of regularly give you insightful stuff that your clients require. How do you kind of structure the kind of incentive mechanism for professionals to take that time out and actually contribute to the private side within your platform?
Great question. That's the whole beauty of this model. It used to be that, XYZ company wanted to speak to this ABC expert and they got a mediator. Now that they wanted a topic, they got a big company to help them to find the expert, and they would set this up thousands of dollars and these to discuss, and then that beautiful discussion just gets buried, right? And so in this model, and they may or may not find it, and maybe they do, and that's it. In this model, you are paying the speaker, of course, the interviewee, some money, maybe not in the amount that they got from the main vendor, but then interviewee gets paid enough, and then also gets access to the content that they themselves contribute to, and so they get useful information. And this is a choice, useful information in return for giving their own.
But is it like a peer-to-peer type of a relationship where you act as a marketplace, or is it like you kind of right?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so I mean, I was just trying to think, is it like, in a way, is the expert sitting as an inventory on your books, or is it a peer-to-peer model where you are basically matching supply with demand, and whosoever wants to connect and get consultation from that expert basically uses your platform to pay and engage with that person?
Right. So we seek experts, and based on the topic, we research and find out who can be the best one. In some cases, our clients mention a few names, and there's an army of people sitting in our organization whose sole job is to sort this thing about what topics do they want to speak in, and have where the clients contribute to the topics, and of course we have our own for this particular industry looking at the market, what pitches are trending. So that's one input. Second input is who's well equipped to answer those questions, and there is second layer, because again it's contributed by clients, experts themselves, us doing our own research, all of that. So these two. Then we have an army of people who actually are experts themselves in knowledgeable enough to interview the expert in the particular topic. Like, since for example, you and I are discussing, you come from this field, I come from this field, so we can go a lot deeper than someone who doesn't understand anything at all about the process. If you've done this job, you know what it is like, you can empathize with it, you can go a lot deeper. So similar to that, in some cases we bring someone to interview the person, we interview ourselves. Really depends on the topic, and it depends on the expert interviews. So it is not a marketplace in that we do random people come in and just discuss and we just throw the content. It's not like that. Because we want to control the quality and the and the content, kind of content that goes in, and so we do curate definitely curate the experts that come in, and that's a difference between this and, for example, a generic content sets that you could have. Anyone can talk to anything. That's not what we do. We curate the topic, curate the experts. We have interviewers also curated, and they discuss intelligent topics that matter to people. Only difference is it's democratized to the point where the price is low enough that people can basically price more.
Yeah. Right. And sort of to grow this further, Raj, like how do you, like, is it a lot of it is obviously keep working on the engine, and with typical MLAI type of a play, the more data points it keeps getting learning on its own and getting better. But is there sort of industries or verticals that you would sort of target more than the others? Is that sort of trying to become like the go-to platform, go-to tech solution for XYZ industries, which includes life sciences, I guess, or is it more about sort of being a broad-based engine which can support multiple sectors? And the reason I ask is that sort of engine, the code, scalable across multiple industries, because each industry has different nuances. So how do you sort of train that?
Great question. I think when you're talking about AlphaSense, or are you talking about stream, which one, or in the expert insight portion?
Expert insight portion, like when you talk, the stream, like I guess I'm talking about both, because both of them can be separated into different verticals, but at the same time, all verticals come with different nuances. So trying to understand, like, how do you sort of go about scaling that? Yeah.
Right. Great question. So I think I'll quickly go to the AlphaSense side, because that's where the proximity, smart synonyms, and all the things that we do algorithmically that we do. Yeah. That's done more from expert sort of teaching the algos in a very broad sense, but also saying experts in each industry saying, here are the topics that here is what it means in this topic. Apple in tech industry is different from an Apple in agricultural industry, so obviously contextualizing that. That's like the whole AI thing, general knowledge, common sense, and a lot of that stuff. So I think that is sort of done in a more tech-centric way, because you have to scale that, and there is no way human can manually go to. There is a process for figuring out new concepts and ongoing, the new concepts that are changing in context, all of that, constantly going through that. There is a army of people, an engine, and to quality control, all of that for the bigger AlphaSense. When it comes to stream, we obviously, it is done in a more in-depth fashion. So in this case, first of all, since our product represents across industries, to answer your question, it certainly is going to cover a lot of different industries. Having said that, the financial services has, just like AlphaSense started off as financial services, there's a lot of depth in it. It tends to be way better because it started off earlier. So it's the same thing here. And then similar to other verticals, as it grows, it gets deeper and broader. We have the thing is we have the highest number of interviews being added on a monthly basis, more than any other platform in this. And so as more topics are requested, as more people ask, it gets to be broader and broader because of just sheer volume of insights, expert insights that we do. And so if you look at the recent content, we're the largest provider of this type of a content set. And so that covers, by virtue of just doing more and more of various topics, we end up becoming broader. And that's our focus as well, is to be the broad-based expert insights. But insights, the expert interviews themselves go a lot deeper after that.
I was thinking that, when like I was in the UK, and when we used to, during my day job, like a fair amount of time used to go in, going through company filings and, checking out numbers and trends, etc., etc. Usually then putting it on some spreadsheet and doing what one does. And I recall that, at that point in time, most of the PDFs that we used to look at, whatever was coming on the exchanges, they used to, be searchable, so it used to be fine. But now we are in India, and in India, when we look at filings, often, they are not even they are not searchable. They are usually non-standardized, and there is a fair amount of consistency issues, right? And that's something which probably in North America is not very common, because in North America, I guess, like it's more of a unified market. But in Europe and in markets like India, it's a big issue, right? That depending on whether you're looking at a large cap company or a small cap company, the level of disclosure and the level of consistency can be phenomenally different. I wanted to understand, like, how does technology play a role here? In the sense that I think a lot of analysis in financial services at the end of the day boils down to building standardization and consistency, which is not really available in the raw information, and that's why you keep humans to do that and then build insights out of it, right? So from a tech standpoint, what are those major technological innovations that you have seen over the last decade or two, and where do you see this evolve? Like, if I ask you, like, for AlphaSense in the next 5 years or 10 years, how would you push the envelope in terms of the entire process of automation, building richer insights into the searches, with the constraints that we have? I don't think filings in India are going to get better tomorrow, or, lack of consistency in European filings are going to get suddenly, change over a short period of time.
Great question. I think that this is where you mentioned about earlier, we talked about, where do humans come in play? Humans have this artificial general intelligence, and we have, computers are nowhere near anywhere that spectrum of things that humans can do. And so, obviously, humans can read something that's hand scribbled in a filing sometimes, which is not supposed to do, and kind of understand that and move on. But if you look at point solutions, a lot of point solutions, we are dealing with AI in a more narrow sense, in the sense that we are looking at, okay, I want to make it understand text, for example. Even that was a big stretch. Going from keyword to approximately doing all the things that we are doing wasn't like doable like 10 years back, and now we do. So right there, we have made a lot of progress from just having numbers and structured tables to actually having computers make some sense out of text. That is a huge step. But the text itself may not be in an organized, structured form. It may not be in this XML or any computer-friendly form. And so you have AI that now understands pictures. It understands words, even if it's not an ASCII character. Like in computer terms, you have each character has a number to it. That's how computers understand.
Right.
There's standardization to it. But if you can write the same letter in 5 different ways, it needs to understand that, and it's not just some icon; it's actually handwritten. So when you get into these areas, computers have to be smart enough to figure that out. Understanding the table and turning that into table. We do something called table extraction, for example, and so that pulls the tables from even PDF or image form. So computing technologies are making inroads into point solutions that try to understand this aspect of human that we just take it for granted.
Right.
That we seamlessly go from text that is hand scribbled versus written in a different font. We just seamlessly get into that mode and we just do it, because but computers are getting better in those areas, specific areas, and we apply the generality that we do, not just for text. We do it even for human conversations. We do it for some other contextual abstract discussions. Of course, computers are not there yet to handle those things, but it has made a lot of progress with image recognition. You see self-driving cars improving, and that's not possible without massive advances in AI. And so we apply some of those techniques in image recognition, table recognition, a lot of these things in this particular context. Second is voice. Today, you have Siri, you have Alexa understanding what you're trying to say. And so there are a lot of podcasts like this, or many other discussions can be transcribed reasonably well. And you can have more and more. Humans don't have to sit and type as much. We still do a lot, but we can get some help along the way. Getting the transcription out and editing that, and that can be searched and help automatically, grammatically corrected even at some point. Maybe even to tools have come to make it even better, or maybe even factually cross-check them. We haven't gone there yet. So there are a lot of things you can do to have a call and say, what was being said, and is that referred to something else, and then some number was given. What was being said is, $25 billion, in market cap or something, and you can turn around and verify, is it true? And so this area of verifying, transcribing, taking the unstructured world in a really, really raw analog sense, digitizing it into the digital form, that's where I think the biggest gap was. Like you mentioned, in India, filing sometimes aren't to regulatory standards, but AI can help in sort of breaching that. It's harder, but certainly is constantly helping something to improve that. We have a long way to go. I wouldn't sit here and say now we somehow conquered this. We have a long way to go, but I think we definitely have to resort to tech to address this. We can't do it manually. It won't scale.
Fascinating. No, this is fascinating, Raj. I mean, it's a sector that we really like as well. Just because it's sort of tech friendly and it solves some real life problems that we face on a daily basis. So we obviously have an affinity towards that. But also, like scale from a scalability standpoint, what is sort of how do you see sort of long-term plans when it comes to sort of growing the business further? I mean, you guys have built up. You guys have raised a bunch of capital as well. What is the sort of general investment climate around such a business? Is there something that you see investors like about it or dislike? Is there something that you find interesting that you'd like to share?
Sure. We kind of built this company in a way based on our experiences before this, and I think we wanted to first of all make sure that our investors are our users. Often our investors are our users. They come to know that we exist because they have been using the product, and they are like, well, this is amazing, and they how can I help further? And so that's one area. Our investors are, of course, investors. They give money, but they are also content providers. They themselves create a lot of content, and they contribute to this. So this model of being a consumer and contributing the content back in a sort of a monetized form, it's a very healthy relationship we have. So we see them as partners, we see them as users, go back to it, and then some of them become investors, and almost all of them use our product very heavily. And so this is kind of the context we are in, and that's probably the biggest. I guess the synergies are super high in that sense. They understand our vision, long-term vision, and we are constantly making this product easily available for lots of different contexts we don't have access to. For example, if you're a large company and you have creating a lot of this content, you don't want to partner with anyone to give it away. It's for your own internal consumption. You need a tool like this to search that, and you can't upload the content to a cloud either. What do you do? So AlphaSense in a box, or AlphaSense coming to you would be a great way to do that. So there's a lot of room for technology to come in and sort of streamline that information and help them in more ways than one. So that's how we see this. Our customers, we never know who's going to become our investors, but almost all our investors are users of the product.
No, this has been truly a very fascinating chat, Raj, in the sense that obviously from a business standpoint, but also to understand it from a technology standpoint. And you're a technology person yourself, so it gives us as well as our listeners hopefully a fair amount of insight into the entire game of market research and data intelligence. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you and AlphaSense all the best. We'll definitely be looking forward to larger milestones in your trajectory, and hope you had some fun as well. And thank you. With that, I think we can call it a day. And this is Nikhil Arora.
This is Sharad Tupran
signing off.